Hello, it's Todd. You know, I did a video here, about an hour's worth of video footage that was unrecorded. Don't I feel like an idiot? Anyway, you know, in a way, things happen for a reason. I think there might be a reason for this because I'm starting to pick up on some entities at this place. So behind me is the Yorktown battlefield. This is revolutionary, okay, revolutionary times. And on the other side is a Civil War cemetery. So I'm going to tell you some things that I'm picking up here. I went through the whole cemetery. I was going through the unmarked graves, giving names, giving descriptions of people, all that kind of stuff. So it's a little frustrating, but anyway, there's some interesting stuff coming through to me, and I would like to share that. Okay, so I'm back, and it's a beautiful area. It's right on the hilltop. Yorktown Beach is down below, down this way. And, you know, this has been excavated. This is the battlefield. This is where there was resistance. There was hills built as cover, you know, from the enemy. Behind here, apparently, there was a church, and it was a black church, and the graves were actually relocated. And as I explained in my last video, which got messed up, there were some entities coming from this cemetery as well. I don't exactly like moved graves, but I feel they're all happy. What was interesting though, between this relocated cemetery and also this established cemetery, which has been here a long time, is I was picking up a lot of female entities. And I couldn't quite figure out why I was getting female entities. But it occurred to me that some of these people had wives. And some of these wives obviously lost their husbands in battle. So that's one thing that I was getting quite a bit of. There was a woman here. I want to say she looked like she was in her 60s to 70s, and she had like blonde, reddish hair. It was pretty wavy. She was wearing the attire from the 1800s, and she definitely paces around this cemetery. And as I was getting back on my motorcycle to come up here, it's over there. Hopefully none of those kids touch it. There was a man coming to me. And there are over 700 known people in the cemetery. And a lot of them are unknown soldiers. So that's quite a number. But the name Samuel keeps coming to me right now. And as I was coming up here, this person who looks like he came from the 1800s, and he also looked kind of important in the war. It looks like either he was a sergeant or he was decorated in the war. And he had a few things to tell me, which is interesting. I see him as lighter hair, I also see him as average size, even though everybody was shorter back then. I also see a mustache on him. I want to say that he was probably in his early 30s. I would say 30s to 40s, okay? But I'm leaning towards early 30s. And he seems a friendly person. I asked how he passed away, and he says that I died of a bullet wound. He says through the heart, actually. He says that some of the attacks came at night, or very close to night, and this was a surprise attack. Now, the other thing is I feel he had children. And I was actually looking through some of these graves because there were some names coming to me, and I wanted to double check and make sure that some of these names came up. A couple did. A couple of them did. Some of these I see physical injuries that happen to people. But this man, Sam, or Samuel as he says, seems a very friendly sort. He says he died at night. So either he had a wound during the day and died at night. Right now I'm asking him where his family, where his descendants are now. And he says Texas. It's kind of interesting. I would point the camera the other way, but there's people coming. There was a black woman over here in the cemetery, and I'm going to walk through here a little bit. And she was just looking at me, and she was smiling. You know, I get something about the 1920s with her, so I don't feel it was that long ago. We have this person, Mary, born 1919, died 2001. Now, these look quite old. No, actually, these, I see what they are. Okay, this person was born 1915, died 1997, Lillian. I don't know when the cemetery was moved, but I know it was relocated from a church. And they all say, no problem. They said, go about your video. Tell them the good stuff. So I'm not sure if you can see from here, but I will try to focus on some of these graves. I was actually walking through here, which is quite a feat for me because I don't like walking in cemeteries and hallowed ground, but you know what? I was actually getting a pretty calm feel in here. Some cemeteries I go to, I just don't want to be there. I'm going to go back in the shade. So a lot of the unmarked graves, I was getting different names. I was also getting different accents too. I know it was Civil War times, but I feel like some of these people moved to America from other places. I was getting Irish accents, I was getting Scottish, different accents in here, which is really interesting. The part about the Revolutionary War. I was picking up a lot of Scottish and also French. And I kind of confirmed that with one of the signs down here that I was reading about the battle. Now, they have renovated this area quite a bit to make it look like you're on a battlefield with the big mounds in front of you. But I was also going back a little ways, and I saw cornfields. I also saw cotton here, and I felt they had crops. So there must have been a transition, maybe with the Park Service or whatever, to recreate the battlefield. But I definitely felt this was farmland around here. Anyway, so the most interesting part of this was the woman that I was sensing who was walking through here. And I think she was pretty heartbroken. And I was also sensing some other women in here as well, so that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, the men died, they probably had families, they probably had wives, and these wives were basically joining them. But they're not buried here, as far as I know, except there is one stone over here that I believe is a combination grave. And had a woman's name on it as well as a man. I think he was pretty high ranking in the military. So as you can see, all the stones here in a row. So there's over 1,000 graves in here, and 700 are known people, and the other are unknown. On the other side here, Revolution times, you're not going to find everybody accounted for because I believe there were mass graves. People were carted off in wagons, but I actually felt mass graves. I also felt Indians were involved in this campaign. And I get the Pamunkey River or something like that. So they must have been from that area. Anyway, this was one of the final battles of the Revolution, because this is where the United States government used to be, or I should say the United English government, because it was British, and then we took it over.